What's up, guys? This is Corey with the Dirt City Gym, and today we are back with another deck profile. So today we're going to be looking at it's not, I wouldn't say it's a new archetype, but it's kind of a new way to go about it. It's a spread deck, basically. But I believe it was last weekend. There was a regionals or something like that or maybe a special tournament over in Brazil. Where we kind of saw the rise of this card here, Meowstic. So this is a card that, obviously, it's from Generation, so it's been around for a little while. There's two versions of this card, actually. Meowstic Male, Meowstic Female. They do the exact same thing. But basically what this card does, it has the attack Ear Influence. For 1 psychic energy, you can move as many damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon as you like to any of your opponent's other Pokemon in any way that you like. So basically, it is the Tapu Lele Pin promo, except it's a stage 1, and it costs 1 energy as opposed to 2. Obviously, we do not have the Tapu Lele promo at the moment, but this is kind of a good way to get a feel for what it's going to be like moving into that kind of format. Obviously, this kind of archetype is a little bit more popular in the expanded format, but I think it still has a place in the standard format, especially with that Meowstic. So I kind of wanted to go over it, but anyway, we're just going to get into the deck list. So first up, we've got one Drampa GX. For the most part, everybody knows what Drampa is by now. 180 HP. It's got the attack Wretch's Edge for 1 colorless, 20 damage. Discard a special energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. Berserk 3 colorless does 80 plus. And then it is an additional 70 damage. If one of your bench Pokemon have any damage counters on it. So hitting for 150, 180 with the Choice Band. We're a deck that runs Evolution Pokemon and Potown. So I feel like at least one Drampa is an automatic inclusion in any kind of deck that runs around that kind of thing. It's always a really good backup attacker. In a clutch type of situation, Big Will GX is really strong for 1 colorless, shuffle our hand on our deck, and draw 10 cards. Kind of swing tempo early or late, force the in, whatever it is. I think it's a really good GX attack in general. It's not our ideal GX attack for the deck, but it is definitely an option. Next up, we have 2 of the Tapu Koko promo. 110 HP, lightning type. It's got free retreat, which is really big, and it's got the attack Flying Flip for 2 colorless. This attack does 20 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon. So this is really good, kind of a baseline, just getting damage spread out. Really, Tapu Koko can kind of take over games. If you get in a situation where you Guzma up something that can't retreat, you're forcing them to find Floatstones, find Guzmas, find Acerolas, things like that to get it out of the active, while Tapu Koko is just happy sitting there, just spreading 20 across the board, and that can really add up if they can't get out of that type of situation. And again, having free retreat is really good. It's always good Pokemon to promote after something gets knocked out. It's really good Pokemon to start off the game with, all that kind of good stuff. Also, good to note, with the Choice Band, Flying Flip would do 50 damage to the active Pokemon as opposed to just the 20, so that, again, can add up. Next up, we have 1 Espeon EX. Everyone should know what this card does by now, but 170 HP, basic EX Pokemon. It's got the attack Miraculous Shine. For 1 colorless, you de-evolve all of your opponent's evolution Pokemon to their next lower stage. So if they're stage 2, you go to stage 1. If they're stage 1, you go to the basic, whatever it is. And really what the point of this card is we're spreading out damage, we're Potowning, we're doing things like that. And then you drop a Miraculous Shine. And then while all those big, bulky stage 2 GXs and things like that have a ton of HP, so 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 damage is not going to be overly relevant to them. Once they go back to their stage 1 or their basic, they're going to get knocked out. And then we're going to take prizes. So it's really kind of the goal of the deck, is just spread out that damage and then Miraculous Shine to take all those prizes. Next up, we're running 2-2 line of the Esper and Meowstic. So the Esper doesn't have an irrelevant attack. It's not one that you're going to probably want to use super often, but for 1 colorless, it has Perplexing Eyes. The defending Pokemon's weakness is now Psychic until the end of your next turn. So if you get in a situation where you know you're either not going to evolve, it's not going to be super relevant for you, you're fairly confident that they're either going to keep that Pokemon in the active, don't have an option but to keep it in the active, or whatever it is, or you're just going to force that Pokemon out of the active. Perplexing Eyes isn't bad. You can set them up with a Psychic weakness. And then you can hit them with something like a Necrozma or a Trash Lance for big damage and things like that. So not a totally irrelevant attack, but not really what we want to be doing. And then the Meowstic running a 2 of as well, or a 1 of, excuse me. As we discussed earlier, it's got the ear influence, just kind of play with our opponent's damage counters. Next up, we've got 2 Necrozma GX, 108 HP. It's got the ability Light's End, prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by your opponent's colorless attacks, or colorless Pokemon. So you're stopping Drampa, Tauros, if that's not super relevant anymore, but things like that are not able to deal damage in Necrozma. Righteous Edge would still discard a special energy because it doesn't prevent effective attacks, just FYI. It's got the attack Prismatic Burst. For 3 colorless, it does 10+, and then you discard all psychic energy attached to Necrozma, and this attack does 60 more damage for each psychic energy discarded this way. So at most you're doing 190 to as little as 60 or 70 with the 10 base. It can kind of clean up after we use our next attack, the Black Ray. In a pinch, it's not a bad option to do, whatever it is. And then really what we're using this for is the Black Ray GX. For 3 colorless, it does 100 damage to all of your opponent's Pokemon EX and Pokemon GX. So you could have the potential, not always likely, but the potential to deal 600 damage to your opponent's Pokemon. 100 to the active, and then 100 to each 5 of the full bench Pokemon if they have that. So against things like Darkrai, Volcanion, Gardevoir, those kind of decks that rely on multiple EXs, GXs, and things like that, you're able to spread out that damage. Everyone's running Tapu Lele, 1 to 2 to 3 Tapu Lele, so you're dealing 100 damage to them. If nothing else, you're making those, that's heavy chip damage, where a Trash Lance can come in and clean up. Drampa can come in and clean up. Necrozma can clean up with Prismatic Burst if we don't get knocked out. All those are really cool situations, spreading out that damage, and then you've got the Meowstic to kind of move things around, or the Espeon to de-evolve right from there. So really cool stuff. Next up, we got top 2 Tapu Lele. Not a lot to say in there. Wonder Tag, really great ability. Energy Drive, a really good attack. Again, it's a great cleanup option after a Black Ray GX. Next up, we have a 4-1-2 line of Trubbish Garbodor. We're running 4 of the Acid Spray, 2 Trash Lance Garbodor. Again, Trash Lance is just a really strong attack. It's way easier to clean up things with the Trash Lance that only have 80 to 100 HP. Even if your opponent is really careful with their items, it's easy to get 3 or 4 items in the discard pile. Even just dropping a Field Blower is going to be able to get more items, plus choice bands and things like that. So a really good cleanup option. And then finally, one of the Garbotoxin Garbodor. Being able to shut off abilities is still super strong. It's always going to be strong. So I feel like a 1 of is a good way to go there. Next, moving into our supporters and trainers and all that. We've got 2 Field Blower. We've got 3 Max Elixirs. This works really well, especially with like the Necrozma. To get quickly, to get a quick Black Ray GX, we go Max Elixir DCE. We're ready to go. It's not bad for a Trubbish that we're going to evolve into a Garbodor, a Meowstic, or an Esper we're going to evolve into a Meowstic, or even a Drampa just to get energy, DCE, Berserk. It's a really good option there. We've got 1 Rescue Stretcher, always great utility. Whether we're getting rid of the Espeon early in the game, a Garbodor, whatever it is that we want to get back later, Rescue Stretcher gives us that option late game to just get a Pokemon back. Even like a Tapu Koko, which can get super annoying, spreading out damage. They knock out one, Rescue Stretcher it back, they get to knock it out again, and you're still getting that damage spread. Next up, we've got 4 Ultra Ball, pretty basic there. 3 Potown. So Potown, again, kind of goes with our spreading damage, especially to the big evolution Pokemon. If they hard evolve up to a Gardevoir, they're taking 60 damage with Potown, which makes that 230 HP a lot easier to deal with. Even if they rare candy, they're still taking 30, which still makes 200 HP a lot easier to deal with. This also works for us putting damage on our Garbodors or Meowstic, so Drampa can come in and clean up with a big Berserk. So if they can't find a way to deal with Potown in time, it can really start adding up, especially even if you're not de-evolving to kill something. If you're de-evolving and then they have to evolve back, you're still adding damage. So it's something to add up. Next up, we've got 1 Bridget, just kind of get set up. Cocos, Trubbish, Drampas, whatever it is. We've got 3 Guzmas. Just kind of maneuver things in and out of the active. Get up the Pokemon we want to get up. Get up something. Top of Coco spread. All that kind of good stuff. We have 4 in. 4 Professor Sycamore. 3 Choice Bands. And 3 Float Stones. And then finally for our energy, we've got 4 DCEs. And then 8 Psychic Energy. You could probably go with 7. I feel like 8 is the lowest number I'm comfortable to run and still run max elixirs. If you want to forego the max elixirs, you could probably drop down to 7 energy relatively easily, and then you have 4 more cards to play around with. Obviously, this list is not including Shining Legends cards. We do have a few cards that give us options in Shining Legends. Shining Jirachi works really well. It does the same kind of effect as Espeon, except it's only on your opponent's active Pokemon, and it takes them down to their lowest evolution. So you can evolve a Gardevoir all the way down to a Ralts as opposed to Kirlia, as you would with an Espeon EX. And then Latios from Shining Legends also is a really good option. Does 30 to the active, 30 to the bench, only requires a DCE. So a really strong attack there, kind of spread damage out and all that kind of good stuff. But really, like I said, the main point of the deck is spread out as much damage as we can across the board everywhere. Then start de-evolving, doing more damage with Black Rays. Even if we're not de-evolving, if it's something like a Volcanion deck, which not going to evolve, top of Coco spread, Black Ray GX everywhere, and then Trash Lynch really picks up easy knockouts. Top of Lily really picks up easy knockouts. Make things way more easier for us to knock out for the big basics. And then for the evolution, just de-evolve everything and take cheap prizes that way. But anyway, guys, that is the deck list. So let me know what y'all think down below. Are there any other things that you would like to see added to this deck? All that kind of good stuff. But anyway, guys, that is it. And we will see y'all next time.